My name is Jose Luna, and this presentation is about the different types of vaccines, how they all differentiate from one another, and how each vaccine is created specifically and differently from each other. Right. So the difference between vaccines. What goes into making a vaccine, right? There are many different types of vaccines that are in a specific category depending on what disease they are being used for. It would all depend on how much is known about the disease and how long it's been around. There are also several factors that go into making a vaccine. Some of these factors that are considered are how well our immune systems respond to the germs, what kind of people are being protected from the germ, and what kind of approach is best for in order to create the vaccine. Uh, the vaccines are put into different categories, right? And depending on what type of disease is being treated and how it's being treated, it would be placed in one of many categories that there are. Some of these categories are inactivated vaccines, live attenuated vaccines, and messenger RNA vaccines. Inactivated vaccines use the killed version of the disease. This type of vaccine doesn't provide strong protection as other different types of vaccines since the germ is dead. And because of this, we would need several doses over time, like such as once a year or once every 2 years. Live attenuated vaccines, they use the weakened version of the disease, so it's not exactly dead. Due to the fact that the vaccine is so similar to the actual disease, it creates a long-lasting immune response. So we won't need to be constantly getting a vaccine for this specific disease. Messenger RNA vaccines create proteins, so these are very different compared to inactivated and live annotated vaccines, right? Because they create a protein to help trigger an immune response, and they do not risk any of the patients in catching the actual disease while being treated. This is actually a very new way for vaccines that is being researched. Some inactivated vaccines include the flu vaccine, the rabies, hepatitis A, and polio. Some of the live attenuated vaccines include the measles, yellow fever, smallpox, and chickenpox. And the messenger RNA vaccines is how the COVID-19 vaccine was created because how fast a vaccine could be developed and distributed. The three stages for a vaccine. In order for a vaccine to be released to the public, it has to go through three phases of clinical trials in order to make sure that they are safe and effective for the public. For all of these vaccines that are used in the United States, they all have to go through these phases one at a time. So it's not like they can do all three at the same time. They first have to go through 1, 2, and 3. In phase 1, a small group of people are given the trial vaccine so they can monitor the reactions. In phase 2, the vaccine is given to people who have the similar characteristics as those whom the vaccine is intended for, such as for the elderly or for children. In phase 3, the vaccine is given to a large amount of people and tested for effectiveness and safety. So this is how they get their percentage of how effective the vaccine is, right? So like when we see like when they say 80% of the time it's effective, this is how they actually get that number. The COVID-19 vaccines. Uh, there are many different types of COVID vaccines. Some of them we know, such as the Moderna, Pfizer, and Johnson and Johnson, and along with other vaccines from other countries that were developed. Although these three vaccines help deal with COVID-19, they each work in different ways, as we all know. For example, the Johnson and Johnson vaccine is only one dose compared to the Pfizer and Moderna, which is a second dose. And even now, there's more boosters. You know, there's a third dose. How does the COVID vaccine work? Uh, After we get vaccinated, our bodies make a copy of the protein from the vaccine. After our body makes a copy of the protein, it will realize that the protein shouldn't be there and build T lymphocytes and B lymphocytes that will remember how to fight the virus as if we are ever infected in the future. So this is the mRNA vaccine that we talked about, the different ways that I mean the the vaccines that create the protein to trigger an immune response. So this is how the COVID vaccine works. It creates a protein that our body will later recognize if we ever get infected. Some of the side effects that the COVID vaccine may have depend on the person. Some people get side effects, some people don't. It all depends on how strong the immune system is. Some of the symptoms are tiredness, headache, muscle pains, chills, fevers, and nausea. I'm sure all of us who are vaccinated have had some of these symptoms, or some of us haven't. Right. So I have some of my coworkers here, and I'd like them to tell us their experience with the COVID vaccine, if they suffered any symptoms, how it affected them, their families, their uh, their school, work. So I believe Lisbeth is in this Zoom call. I believe she joined. So she could just tell me her experience with the side effects and the COVID vaccine.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. My name is Lisbeth. I did receive my COVID vaccine. I'm updated. I have all my shots and the booster. And I received it really early on when the vaccines were just coming out. So it was a little bit of uncertainty to kind of like see what was going to happen, because I think there was a lot of like unknown about like symptoms afterwards, and a lot of people were scared. But nonetheless, it wasn't that bad. I did get a headache right after I got my shot. I got Pfizer, by the way. But that just might have been also because it was a long day. I had to travel from where I go to school, because they were like new. And so they weren't easily available when I first got my first dose. And so the travel there, I had not eaten and drank water or anything like that. So I think that might have played a role. So I wouldn't blame the vaccine for it, but I did notice that I got a headache. And then when I got back to campus, I did feel low on energy. I don't usually nap, but the vaccine actually did make me like fall asleep as soon as I got back to my dorm. Other than that, I was more scared for the second one, because I think that the second one, there was like a lot of rumors saying that the second dose was going to be harsher than the first one. And I already felt like kind of down on the first one. So I was kind of scared for the second, but I did not feel anything for that one. I did not feel anything for my booster either. So that was well. In my school, everyone, I think, is vaccinated. It is required. Um, I don't think the booster is required right now, but my school does do testing, like regular testing. And so if you're not up to date with your vaccines, and you do have to get tested, it's mandatory that you get tested at least once a week, I believe. for those that are already vaccinated, we don't have to do the weekly testings. So I haven't done my testing in a while, but it is easily available. I think my school has been very efficient with providing the resources. And so even though I'm not really required, I still take advantage of them when I feel like I've been in a large group, a large setting, and I'm not sure about everyone's vaccination status. Yeah, that has been a little bit of mine.
Okay, well, I'll share my personal experience with the vaccine. I got the Moderna, and I was also one of the very first ones to get the vaccine when they released. I did have to travel about 2 hours from where I live, almost upstate New York, in order for me to get vaccinated. And the first dose was out of the worst out of the two for me because I did suffer all the symptoms. Right? Again, I also don't take naps, but I felt really, really tired. Right? Apart from the soreness in my arm where I got the vaccine, I felt tired. I was nauseous. I actually had headaches, which is something I never get. Um, so like my coworker said, Lisbeth said, I was also really scared about my second dose because again, a lot of people would say that the second dose was the worst, and in my mind, I was like, so if the second is the worst, it has to be worse than my first vaccine, my first dose, which was really bad. But no, surprisingly, the second dose I didn't have no side effects apart from the sore arm, some slight tiredness, and I definitely didn't feel anything from my boosters. As for my school, as we know, there are people who don't want to get vaccinated because of all these myths that are being spread around. Uh, because of that, many of my classmates in my school don't actually want to get vaccinated, right? Even though my school is a vaccination center and a COVID testing center, many refuse to get vaccinated for the simple reason that they think it's gonna kill them, or they just don't want to. Because of this, it actually affected my school a lot. Right, we haven't had that many in-person classes as many other schools have. Right, so many schools are back in person, but not really in my school. Right, my school, a lot of kids don't go for the fact that they don't want to get vaccinated. They prefer to stay online. But I feel like for a certain extent, they're just using it as an excuse not to go to school. But nevertheless, that's still a big issue in my school, and I'm pretty sure in some certain schools too. Um, I'd also like my coworker Azucena to tell me her experience with the COVID vaccine.
Good afternoon. I'm Masusana, and I would say because I'm vaccinated, I got all three vaccines, even the booster. But I would say that at first I kind of like had mixed feelings about it, like getting vaccinated. But like once I saw that like almost all the countries, like approved the vaccine, like it was like I had to get it. And plus I wanted to keep my family safe. So I got the vaccine. And at first I got like muscle pain, fever, like those like normal common side effects. Yeah. Mhm.
Uh, so Azucena, the kids in your school not getting vaccinated affect your school life?
Yes, because had to stay online, and it was kind of hard for me because online classes, I couldn't focus. I like being in person rather than being online.
So this was just a little presentation about the difference between the COVID vaccines, right? The different types of vaccines, how they're made, what goes into making a vaccine, right? I feel like since there are so many vaccines, for different types of diseases, we all seem to generalize them to just like a shot that we just get because we have to get it, but we don't really bother to see what goes on to create the vaccine, how hard it is, and like how each vaccine is different from one another. So that's what this presentation was about. All this information I have, you can find in the CDC, in the Department of Health website. If you have any questions, there are phone numbers you can call in that website, in the CDC website. Yeah, I hope you all enjoyed this presentation.